Yeah.
How are you?
I'm I'm good. Very, very good. It's been very different working here compared to my last church because my last church they went about 2 years without a youth pastor.
Yeah.
So there wasn't much like grieving process.
Hmm.
And then now I got hired a couple weeks after the last youth pastor left here. So there wasn't much like transition time.
Hmm.
So it's been very interesting, very different, but it's a good different. And like I was telling my parents this that with having a supportive workplace that they believe in me has
Yeah.
given me confidence in other parts of my life because with being a person that stutters, I hate talking on the phone, but there's only a few people that I will call. But now I am making phone calls and not like figuratively pooping my pants because it is scary.
I can imagine that it would be. And I'll tell you this. I just listened to the two episodes of your podcast that are on Apple Podcasts. So
Mhm.
I think that they were distributed since you've been using what's the app?
uh an- Anchor.
The Anchor app, yes. And so I I had to remind myself because I'm not around a lot of people who stutter. And actually my daughter was listening with me and she said, "Oh, Daddy, Cadence stutters." And I was like, "Oh, that's right." And she was on our softball team,
Mm-hmm.
but she's very quiet. And
Yep.
she's very quiet because she doesn't want to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talked about that a lot. And I was telling her, did you hear what Samantha said? How talking is exhausting for somebody who stutters, and I don't think a lot of people consider that. I don't think that people who speak with no effort, it really is no effort. And I was telling her that I said, for you and me, just to have a conversation, it's just effortless. But for somebody who stutters, it takes a lot of energy to think about what they're saying and how they're saying it. It's exhausting. It has to be.
Yeah. My first day here, when I left, uh when I drove back home, just the exhaustion kicked in and I was like, holy cow, I'm exhausted. And I went to bed so early. I was like, I'm done. I'm going to bed now.
Oh man, it's probably similar to like running a marathon or a 5K. Just the amount of effort that you put into something. But there's also probably built up pressure too. I built up like what situations am I going to be in, and so um, see, my wife struggles with anxiety.
Mhm.
So she's always thinking, she's always worrying about something. And I told her the other day, I said, "You're so tired all the time because you exhaust yourself. Like you can't stop thinking. Like you make yourself tired." And so I don't think people realize that. I don't think people realize that for someone who stutters, how truly exhausting it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my parents, bless their hearts, but being in my 20s and still living at home, they think about me just being, oh, she's just so confident, she can just go and do so many social things. And I straight up told my dad, saying, dad, I have been on since 7 in the morning to about like 11 at night. I am exhausted. Like,
Hmm.
I need you to not get mad at me at this time because my emotions are high because I'm just so exhausted. And
Yeah.
it's something that I try to be very upfront and open with my youth, that on Wednesdays they are my longest days, where I am on for a very long time. So if you see me before youth starts
Hmm.
and I am by myself, I love you, but this is my time to decompress before I have to go back on.
Yeah.
Because it's just very exhausting. But the cool part is, my pastor has a form of understanding where he said that whatever you need to do to make sure you do your job right, then
Hmm.
do it. If it's taking a break beforehand, do that. Because he is very, very big on healthy work and life boundaries, which I love. Like, he is amazing.
Well, that's good. That's good because a lot of pastors are not. Sometimes I'm good about it, sometimes I'm not. I was hoping to talk about a couple more things that I pulled out of your podcast that were meaningful to me. And one of them was, and I'm trying to remember what grade you were in when I came to Oakville. I think you were in the 6th or 7th grade.
Yeah, it was like a year before I went into youth.
Yeah, so I think that um because your mom was teaching the junior high Sunday school class and your dad was teaching the senior high Sunday school class, and you were not in your mom's class yet when I got there. I don't think you were yet.
Yep.
Um, but we were all getting ready for you. Don't spit your water out.
Yep, everyone was.
We're like, oh yeah, Samantha will be in this class next year.
Oh, yes, and that's where the start of me slowly opening up started to develop. And I tell my youth that, like, bless my first ever youth pastor's heart, because when I just got that confidence that like someone believed in me, now I never shut up. Like, holy cow, I just talk. Like, now I have a career in talking to youth.
Well, it's hard for me to shut up too. So it's just called being an extrovert.
Yes, it's weird because at first growing up, I was a introvert with new people, but I was an extrovert with my
Froze up on me.
parents. Oh, I was a extrovert for my parents, but a introvert for everyone else. And now, being in my 20s, I'm a introvert extrovert because my job is extrovert and my normal day-to-day life is very introvert.
Yeah. The well, so one of the things I was thinking about listening to the podcast was that when someone tells you that your stutter is cute.
Yeah.
Now, when you were 11 and 12 years old, when you have a little kid that stutters, a lot of people are like, oh, that's so cute. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But to tell a 20-year-old or 21-year-old, how old are you now?
I am 24.
Don't say that. Because I'm 44. So for a 24-year-old, for someone to tell a 24-year-old that their stutter is cute is, I would hope, is a little bit different than telling an 11 or 12-year-old that their stutter is cute. But one thing also, I was telling Adeline today, I said, one thing about people who stutter is that when they sing, they don't stutter when they sing because they're using a different part of their mouth. They're using different muscles. They're using their vocal cords in a different way. And I want you to know, I remember how beautiful your voice is. I want you to know that. And when we had our youth praise band, it was always so much fun to see you up there singing and to praising God with your voice. And that was one of my favorite parts of, and my time in Ovilla, it was my fourth youth ministry to work with. Is that right? Yes, it was my fourth youth ministry to work with, and I feel like I finally got things right. No, I had a good time. There was only one youth ministry experience I wish I would have had done either differently or not done at all, but not everybody's a good fit everywhere. But I really enjoyed my time at Ovilla. And a lot of it had to do with just the dynamic of our youth. We had, at that time, we had so many great kids. And hold on, I'm going to get this. I'll be right back. You're not even in this picture because this was junior high 2009. So I don't think you were in youth yet, but this picture right here.
Yeah.
Have you
Yep.
seen that picture before?
Yep.
And this was
Man,
just the junior high youth at that time.
it's so weird to like see those people as like, oh, junior high now.
Haley and Connor and Melanie and Ellen and Jack and Chris and Macy.
Oh man,
Isn't that crazy?
that
They're
is
they're in
wild.
junior high in that picture.
Oh man.
That was a crazy trip too, because we had to send some adults home because they were they had a they had a cooler full of beer on a work site.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would respond if I was in that situation. I'd be like, why are you being so stupid? Like I had to lead a ministry safe meeting. It was like my job at my last church.
Uh-huh.
And I was reading all the don'ts and I just stopped and I said, I'm tired of reading this to y'all. Y'all are grown-ups. The main thing is don't be stupid. And if I find out you're being stupid, then you are going to have a come to Jesus talk with me. And no one wants that. And neither do I.
The funny thing is, the youth are always a piece of cake.
Yes.
It's the adults who are the pain in the butt to deal with. It really is.
Yeah.
But I think one of the differences in growing older is that you can relate more to those adults
Yes.
instead of being in your 20s. Even when I was in youth ministry in my 20s, it was hard for me to get my point across to the adults. They didn't want to hear it from me. They thought I was, some bratty kid still. But now that I'm 44 years old and I have 2 kids, I can be like, look, y'all, get yourself together.
Yes. Yeah, it's weird because the parents are they are very good here.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to work through a lot of church trauma from my last church and reminding myself that no one here sees me as my age.
Yeah.
Like that was the big thing. And my pastor has to constantly remind me that no one sees you as your age. It is just you were here. You were being paid to minister to these kids.
Yeah.
And they want to help you. Because where I'm at here reminds me a lot of Ovilla, where everyone is very mission minded here, very wanting to reach out to the community, which I really love. Like it is amazing here. And you mentioned something about the praise band singing. So within singing, as being a person that stutters, I always forget which side of the brain, but there's one side that is the speaking part, the other side is the singing part.
Huh.
Which I thought it was like, oh, my vocal cords or stuff like that, but it's like it's all brain stuff. It's
really,
yeah.
I didn't know that. I haven't thought about that before. I think that another piece that I really admired in your podcast was talking about the difference of a stuttering teenager versus a stuttering young adult, somebody who's in their 20s. And that you're around more people now that aren't going to make a big deal out of you that you stutter. They're not going to make fun of you for stuttering. They're going to respect you for who you are. And mostly because of that frontal lobe development. You were talking about that in your podcast. And I think that's important for a lot of people to hear. I also, another piece of it was that you like talking to people in person, and the fear of ordering. I laughed out loud when you talked about pushing that red button at Sonic. I laughed out loud. And I was laughing so hard that my daughter was like, "It's not that funny, Daddy."
Yes, it is.
And so, like my daughter's 9. And so she picks up on a lot of these things too. So I think I want you to know what you're doing is great, that this podcast is a really good idea. and it speaks to a lot of people, I think. And even it's not just for people who stutter. It's for people who want to learn how to love people better in all areas, not just people who stutter. And so you're doing good work with this. I want you to know that.
Oh, thank you. I actually met a fan of my podcast at a coffee shop. Like she knew exactly who I was.
Really?
Yeah, she is from, I forgot where she's from, but
It's okay. What you were saying about your fan, your podcast fan?
yes, she said that I found your podcast and then the coffee shop shared your post on their story, and then I put two and two together and I was like, wait, that's her? And she said that I'm the reason why she's pursuing her dreams because
Wow.
I have shared my dreams and I'm doing what I love.
Wow.
And I'm still very shook. I'm like, what? What?
How long ago was this?
Last week.
Whoa. That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Man, oh man.
So
Crazy.
I can only imagine what it is like to be in ministry as someone who stutters. But I can tell you for myself, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I have a slight form of dyslexia. And so I have to be very careful about how I read in public. And even this last Sunday, I was like trying to read the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego story.
Yep.
And in my in my translation, the CEB, it said something like the fiery furnace or the furnace of fiery flame. And like I had to say that like 20 times because they repeat, it's very repetitive story. They repeat the thing over and over and over again. And so I kept saying like the fiery flaming furnace or the furnace of fiery flame, or what, I was not saying it in the right order. Because what I do is I put words before other words in sentences. Like I read ahead and then I just like jump ahead. And so I was like, I was laughing at myself in church, and I was like, I'm just gonna say 3F from now on. The 3Fs.
Oh man.
But what I have found is that when I'm open about my dyslexia, when I talk openly about it, it helps because people are like, oh yeah, he's not just doing this because he's stupid. He's, you know, he has dyslexia or, a form of it. Because they even transpose numbers when I talk. I can read numbers and then I say them and I say them all different order. But it also has helped me in my relationships with some other people who are also dyslexic. And one of my youth parents the other day, but I'm teaching confirmation right now, and I want the confirmands to come and read scripture or help out with communion or serve in some way in the worship services. And this one parent said, oh, don't ask my daughter to do that. She's dyslexic. And I was like, well, I'm dyslexic. And she's like, no, you don't understand. Like, she won't want to do this. And I'm like, I respect that. If she doesn't want to do it, it's fine. But please don't tell her she can't do it. Would you mind asking her to do it? And she did turn it down because she was nervous. But there's other places for her to serve as well. And so I think that just when people see someone who is not perfect, when people see our faults, when people see openly about us that we're not, although we try to have it all together, that there's no way we can ever have it all together.
Yeah.
And it's part of that. There's a really deep and rich theology in that too, that no matter how pious we are, no matter how good we are, no matter, if we abstain from certain things in life and really try to live a holy life, and no matter how our relationship with God is, if it's, if we wake up in the morning and read the Bible until we go to sleep at night, and like that's all we do every day is, or pray continuously, it doesn't matter who we try to be, we will always have brokenness in our lives. And it's not our fault. It's not anything that we've done. It's just because we're a human being. And there's a lot of rich and deep theology in that it's, when you talk about that, and I don't have the Bible reference with me, but all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. It's not because we want to sin. It's not because we want to be broken. It's not because we can't be whole. It's because of who we are as human beings. And then that piece from Exodus that you read, about Moses's calling, the point that God is saying, did I not create, did I not give people eyes to see, or do I not make people blind? Do I not give people a voice or take it away? And so, God designs us to be who we are. And then there's that piece of how can you find beauty within those ashes, within that brokenness? How can you find the beauty within that brokenness? And I think a lot of that has to do with the redeeming community, that as a community we can lift each other up and we can be there for each other. And then you had that body of Christ image, that when one part of the body suffers, the whole body suffers with it. But when one part rejoices, the whole body rejoices with it. Just such beautiful imagery there. There's a lot of deep and rich theology in that, and it's not something that we don't want to draw attention to ourselves, like we don't want to say like, yeah, we're doing this because I stutter, or we're doing this because I have dyslexia. But I think that when people can see us for who we truly are and not who they want us to be, or who we want them to think we are, it's just that real deep honesty. And that honesty leads to deeper relationships and authenticity, and it leads to it's really a life-giving blessing. And so it's almost like no one would say this. No one would say this, but I can see someone thinking to themselves, like, not that they would be jealous as a pastor or a youth minister, but that someone might say, wow, Samantha has something that I don't have. And that her gift to other people really is her stutter. Does that make sense? That's so
Well,
funny.
literally the life of being a person that stutters. Everyone interrupts, even Siri. Siri is the rudest when, like, during maths, I'm trying to talk to a friend, and then it says, turn right. And I'm like, excuse me. Oh, man.
No, but we were talking about do you ever see your stutter as a gift?
Right now, yes.
Yeah.
My first day here, I the pastor wanted to talk to me, and I asked him, saying, okay, I have to ask this because I am a female. Is there someone in this church that doesn't like the idea of females in ministry? And he said, no, there's not. And I said, okay, I also have to ask this. Is there someone in the church that would get frustrated with me with being a person that stutters? And he sits up and he's like, Samantha Green, don't you dare think your stutter as just something. Like, it is a gift from God. You are using it to bring more youth to God, where youth are able to relate to you and other people can relate to you. So you are not allowed to think your stutter as just something. It is a gift. And ever since then, I'm just like, oh, yeah.
Well, and I think that it helps you when you think about yourself and you think about what you've gone through in life, what you're going through in life, what you continue to go through in life. And we all have the burden that we carry around. And for a lot of people, it's not something in front of us. It's a well-kept secret. It's a sin that we don't ever want to talk about. Um, People don't like being vulnerable about their brokenness.
Yeah.
But when your brokenness is, or a form of your brokenness is right out there in front of everybody, it opens the door for some conversations that might be more difficult to have. And you can also see how difficult it is for other people who maybe their brokenness is not on the surface. Maybe it's very, very deep inside of them, or maybe they're unaware of it. A lot of people are completely unaware of their brokenness. A lot of people are completely unaware of what they have to really deal with in life, especially teenagers. Teenagers are completely oblivious.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The amount of I've shared so many stories with my youth, and I call it story time with Sam. And there's always that one youth in the back saying, "Woo!" And I'm like, yes, I got them. And I've shared stories about me being in youth, and how it it wasn't just, oh, like, the youth being accepting, stuff like that. It was having a youth pastor that believed in me, that knew that yes, my stutter is a gift, but I'm so much more than what I deal with every single day. And I've told um actually Glen Lake Camp came to my church, and it was their first time bringing camp to church, and I was so proud of Glen Lake Camp there that I introduced all of the staff and Patrick, and I would say, yes, Patrick is my former youth pastor. And he just looks at me and he's like, you're like claiming me. And I'm like, dude, like, because of you, because of John Nader, because of Julia Castleman, I am in ministry because of y'all believing in me.
Wow.
Like, if I didn't have those core people believing in me, I would not have taken that leap. I would have believed what everyone at DBU would say, that, oh, women don't have the right to preach. And I would actually believe that.
Yeah.
But I didn't, all because of just the support. So I thank you for being that like stepping stone for me into really thinking about youth ministry.
Well, you're very welcome. And I want you to know that it's hard for people not to believe in you, Sam. you you have a contagious personality. You really do. I don't know of anybody, how anybody could ever not like Samantha Green. It's like, if you don't like Samantha Green, there's got to be something wrong with you.
There are people out there that don't like me. And
well, what did you do to them, Samantha?
I may have decorated Christmas a little bit early, October 1st.
Oh man. Well, I am proud of you. I really am. And I wish I was in Ellis County. Like, I wish I could be over there hanging out with you all the time. I wish I could be your pastor and that we could work together, but that's just not in the cards right now. And when I was in high school and I had a calling to ministry, and my brother Joseph had a calling to ministry at the same time, and our friend Ryan, he was doing some music ministry stuff, and we had this idea when we were in high school. We're like, okay, yeah, Joseph's going to be the pastor of the church, and John is going to be the youth director of the church, and then Ryan is going to be the music minister of the church. Now, this is the closest I've ever lived to my brother since high school. We live 20 minutes apart now. So he's pastoring First Methodist Weatherford, and I'm pastoring Brock United Methodist Church. But Ryan lives in Rockwall, so there's no chance, there's no chance that this has ever happened.
Oh yes. Oh.
And I don't even know if Ryan plays the guitar anymore. I'm sure he does. I haven't spoken to Ryan. No, Joseph talks to Ryan all the time. because they went to Baylor together. They were roommates in college together, and they both worked at First Methodist Waco together when they were in college there at Baylor. But I haven't spoken to Ryan in a long time. He was one of my brother's friends that, I like Ryan. He's one of my brother's friends that I like. I'm sure you have some of your sister's friends that you like, and some of your sister's friends that you probably don't care so much for.
Which sister?
All of them. Because you have 3 sisters and I have 3 brothers.
I
you
have
have, you have
2.
2 sisters. Okay.
Yeah. Lisa's friends.
I didn't care for any of my older brother's friends because they were all mean to me.
Yeah. Lisa's friends are so sweet that my first time meeting them, I just got back from a long day working at camp, and they like asked me like, how are you, like, what can we do to help you, let me grab your bag. And I'm just like, y'all are the guest here. Like, what? Like, they are so sweet. I'm just like, wow, I've never liked my sister's friends, but Jamie is a whole other different story. That her friends just annoy me. They're just like stupid, and I know they don't listen to my podcast, so
Oh man, you're gonna meet one of them in the coffee shop someday.
oh.
But yeah, remember what you said about me on your podcast? No, that's
Oh,
okay. It's okay.
well,
We can edit that out.
let me clarify. It's her high school friends I don't like. Her friends she made at camp, at Lakeview Camp in Palestine, those friends are cool. They are so cool, and they think I am the coolest. So I like those. Just the
Oh, that's cool.
high school friends. They're weird.
Well, I think it's also like you want the best for your siblings too, and then you see them hanging out with people, you're like, really? Like, you can do better.
I made one of her friends feel stupid because they were asking me like, oh, like, what are you doing? And I was working on my Greek homework. And I asked them, I said, oh, do you want to know the Greek lexicon of the word agape? Well, depending on the word agape, there's different versions, and it's in the Bible this many times. And they just looked at me. They were like, what? And I'm like, you asked me what I'm doing. I told you.
Oh man, you are a Bible nerd, aren't you?
Well, the story of me taking Greek for two years, it up front was, oh, my advisor, who's the Greek professor, like, I just need to take 2 semester worths. And then my competitive self and loving to prove my parents wrong, I thought, I'm going to go through another year. So I survived 4 semesters, 2 years, and I'm convinced I should have failed. But that professor passed. He passed me. I don't know how. Like, I was supposed to fail.
Oh my goodness. Well, I can honestly talk for a very long time, but I have to take my daughter trick or treating tonight.
Yes.
So we should probably wrap up.
Yep. And
We should do
as
this again though, because we didn't. We kind of got on the topic that we talked about, but
yeah, as I normally wrap things up,
mhm.
I normally end with like to test the person's knowledge about stuttering. But what I want to ask is, what is one thing that you have learned from stuttering and from people like me that you have used on your day-to-day life?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you just don't know. You don't know what's going on with people. You meet somebody for the first time. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they're carrying around with them. You don't know the burden or the load that they carry. And so I think a big deal of it is we have to be people, not just people who don't stutter, but everybody. We have to be really kind to people.
Yeah.
And another thing is when someone is different than us, maybe they have a special need, maybe they have a stutter, maybe they have dyslexia, maybe they have something that just makes them different, a handicap. It's okay to talk about it with them, and it's okay to say, um, tell me what happened, or tell me more about what it's like, or but you have to do that authentically. You can't do it just in passing. You have to really want to get to know that person. But I think the biggest thing I've learned, and I shared this earlier about from your podcast, is how exhausting it is for you to have a conversation, and especially when you don't want to do something and you have that built up anxiety about it, um, meeting new people. And honestly, I had never thought about when you talked about it on your podcast, but I never thought about what is it like for you to go on a date? What is it like for you to meet guys that you never met before? And if you meet them through a friend, and the friend probably has said, hey, this is my friend Samantha. I want you might want to go out with her, but you probably need to know this about her. And so your friends probably give people a heads up. But if you're meeting somebody through a dating app, or if you're meeting somebody online that you've never met before, that's got to be challenging. I can imagine it would be. I've never thought about that before. And it's um, not something that I have to go through in my life. But I will tell you this, that you and I have a lot of similarities in our call stories. You and I have a lot of similarities in the way that we've lived out our callings as well. And you and I have a lot of similarities in our upbringing. But I'll tell you this, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was the youth director at First Corsicana. It was my second job in youth ministry. And I had been there for about a year, and I was dating this girl. who was a pastor's daughter, and she has since unfortunately died in an automobile accident.
Mm.
But I just remember the loneliness of being single and being in ministry. I remember how often I ate out because I was eating for myself. I was away from home, which was a good thing. That wasn't a bad thing, but it just meant that I didn't have a support system around me, which I did. It just wasn't there in Corsicana. But I remember having to make God and I had to come to Jesus meeting. And I was like, look, if you want me to do this, that's fine. But this is hard. This is really, really hard. Because telling people, number one, that you're going into the ministry and that you're a youth director, it's not the best pickup line in the world.
No.
It's not. It's not. It's not, especially for a guy. You know, it's like, oh, you're not the doctor or the lawyer or the accountant or the nurse or anything else. You're doing what? You're going into the ministry? No, thank you. I would much rather date someone who is going on a career path that, not that they didn't admire it, they just don't, they know that they're going to live a life that's going to be hard. Financial struggles. And then as a pastor, as a youth director or a pastor, you're not available to your family in ways that other people could be. Now, it's gotten better. It's in the pathway of ministry. But I remember that night I had to make a decision. And it's not that I had to, I just did. And I said, okay, God, I need you to know right now that I'm all in. That I'm all in. And if there's no one out there for me, if there's not a significant other out there for me, I'm okay with that. Because what you've called me to do is where I can find my happiness. And doing the work of ministry is where I can find my happiness. That I would sacrifice being married. I would sacrifice having a family for this. But it was only when I was really willing to lay it on the line. And I meant it too. I mean, nobody else was there. I wasn't talking to anybody else. I wasn't doing it for anybody else. But when I had committed that to God, is the next semester I started seminary, and I met Casey. And you know, it's when we are fully committed to God, God will turn up and show up in ways that we can't imagine. Now, I'm not saying that you should get on your knees tonight and tell God that you're fully committed to him, and then that like 6 months from now you'll meet Mr. Right. But what I what I am saying is I've been where you are. And I know it's not easy. It's not easy to go get fast food and take it back to your office because you don't want to eat it, you know, at the restaurant with nobody there. It's not easy to go watch a movie by yourself, like you talked about on your podcast. It's not easy to do those things. I mean, when I was in Corsicana, I don't remember how many times I went through the drive-through at a fast food restaurant and then just brought my food back to my house or back to the church and just ate in my office and watched. Well, they didn't have YouTube videos then. That's how old I am. I couldn't watch a show on my computer.
Oh man.
And this wasn't out yet either. So I had a brick phone then, like a Nokia brick phone. So yeah, there was no dating app that you could just no.
Yeah. It's being single in ministry. It's very weird. I've been on one date and he, bless his heart, he's just and I know he listens. And that's all I'm going to say. Bless his heart. But it's cool that my pastor too understands being single in ministry, that it's cool having people around me that understand.
Yeah.
That at my last church, it was very lonely. I would go through the drive-throughs and bring my food back to my office, and the amount of Bachelor and Bachelorette that I've watched on my phone in my office is insane. But
Oh man.
yeah.
Yeah. But the loneliness of ministry doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Because I can have acquaintances who are members of this church. You know, I can go to a church member's house and our kids can play together. Our kids can be on the same softball team, you know. We're going camping this next weekend with our church.
Ooh.
And you build relationships with people. But people don't live the life of a pastor.
Yeah.
Or a youth director. It's not, they don't, it's a very lonely job. And one of the best things that I've done is that I have other clergy friends that I visit with very regularly. And one in particular that I've known now for 16 years. And actually I've known another one for 19 years. But Brad is the one who I've known for 19 years. Chris is the one I've known for 16 years. Chris and I just played golf on Saturday. But those are the people who get it.
Yeah.
Because they're doing the same thing you're doing. And so it's important to have those companions in ministry. And the ones that want to be your friend because they want to be your friend, not because of anything vain or trying to jockey for a position in youth ministry or anything like that, because that happens too.
Yeah.
But I am so grateful that you're doing this, Samantha. And
thank you.
It's been fun to be on your podcast today.
Yes, thank you so much for being on my podcast and reminiscing about the times where I was that weird youth that never shuts up and still never shuts up now. But I appreciate you so much, and Thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome, and I appreciate you too, Sam. And someday I'm going to come to Waxahachie and we're going to go eat some good Mexican food together.
Yes, I love food, so I am in.
Well, God bless you and have a good Halloween tonight. Are you going to go
You
trick or
too.
treating?
I'm going to swing by one of the church members' homes because they told me saying, Sam, after your podcast, come on by. We
Okay.
have good candy. So I'm going to swing on by and then head home.
Are you going to take a whole bag of candy or are you just going to get some of it?
I don't know because they really like me. So I don't know.
Well, have fun and I'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye, Sam.
Bye.